Welcome back to our show. My name is Todd Ewing, and the name of our show is See the Heaven in Every Black Face. See the Heaven in Every Black Face. Transform ourselves, transform our communities, claim our nobility. I'm always quick to say that I see the heaven in every face of people of every color and every background, but what this show is about is what the black community is doing to transform ourselves and transform our community. Thus the title taken from my book, Seeing Heaven in the Face of Black Men. The show is about finding ways to rewrite the negative narrative that exists in our society about black folks and that is subconsciously part of the narrative in our own heads about ourselves all too often. So we rewrite that story together from a position of nobility, power, and beauty, seeing beauty in ourselves and translating that into how we relate to each other, how we communicate with each other, how we interact with each other. So the guests I interview, including the guests today, are guests that are engaged in transforming themselves, both transforming themselves, working on themselves, and transforming their communities. We've got a little bit of a special program today in a lot of ways. One, we've got some young people on for the first time, but also we're going to pay tribute to Muhammad Ali. Obviously, this last weekend we lost one of the most honored and transformative figures of our lifetime. One they call the people's champion, the greatest, Muhammad Ali, one who truly rewrote the negative narrative as profoundly as anybody I've ever known. And so many around the world, right now, today, tomorrow, the next day, and all throughout the weekend have been recalling the heaven they saw in his black face. Transform ourselves, transform our communities, claim our nobility. Nobody characterized that better than the people's champion, Muhammad Ali. I already let our guests know, and I'll introduce them in a little while, that we're going to spend the first few minutes, and I think all of us feel a need to do this, to pay this tribute to Ali. So I've asked a special guest to call in, and that special guest just happens to be my brother, Jeffrey Ewing. Jeffrey Ewing wrote an award-winning off-Broadway play, a one-man show about the life of Muhammad Ali that the champ himself actually came to in New York City. Jeff won the prestigious Obie Award for that play and also other awards for that play. He also performed it at the 1996 Olympics where Muhammad Ali lit the Olympic torch. So he has something to say about Muhammad Ali. It's going to be brief because I'm going to try to have him on next week to talk a lot more about Muhammad Ali. But I asked him to call in just to share some of his insights, some of his thoughts, his recollections of Muhammad Ali. I don't know if that's him on the phone or not. Okay, so maybe he'll call back in now.
Hold on, let's see.
Okay, I got to call in my cell phone.
Caller, are you there? Caller, are you there? Hello? Caller, are you there?
Let's see if I can get him on the line, see if he's on the cell. But anyway, while we're waiting for him to call in, you know, Shaka, I haven't introduced you formally yet, and I haven't introduced Zainab and Nehemiah yet, but I would like maybe perhaps you could share some of your recollections of Muhammad Ali. I don't know if you all know a lot about Muhammad Ali, but I bet you've heard about him. I bet you have some thoughts about him. But let's start with Shaka. Any just recollections about Muhammad Ali?
He was the greatest, hands down, the greatest boxer that I ever saw. I was never a boxer, but was always an athlete and always interested in athletes, especially great athletes. But I really knew Muhammad more for his social work. He's one of the reasons that I joined the Nation of Islam and became an FOI, because I saw the stand that he took as a man. He risked his livelihood. He put his children at jeopardy and his wife in jeopardy to stand up for his people, and that's the kind of man that's being remembered. Yes, he was a great champion, and we remember the heavyweight the bouts, but more than anything else, he was a man of integrity and character and extreme resolve.
Absolutely. Before we go to the caller, well, let me go to the caller first because we got him on the line, and then I'm going to come back to you two and ask you a little bit about your thoughts on Muhammad Ali. Let's talk to the caller. Are you on, Jeff?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud
Okay, I can't hear you very well at all.
Okay, so how about now?
No.
Now good?
Yeah, good.
Okay, great. Listen, Jeff, I already told them that you wrote the one-man play on the life of Muhammad Ali, the awards you got for it, performing it at the Olympics. But I just want to ask you, and just go from your recollection, what would prompt you? You spent a good part of your life working on this play to honor Muhammad Ali, and so what was it about him that made you want to spend that kind of time honoring him?
Well, I'll just give you kind of a short version of it. He was my hero growing up. I always watched him and emulated him. I just thought he was just the greatest human being. I was 13 years old when he won the championship. Then I kind of watched as his life was unfolding, and I always felt that a real strong connection with him on a lot of different levels. But when it came time for it to actually do this show about him, it was one of the kind of things that I just felt like it was like almost a calling, because I felt like he was such a great person, but I always felt like he was not appreciated or understood like I felt he should be. And I felt that I had a real connection with him, and I understood who he was, what he stood for, and I felt like, if I could show that to the world, I just wanted to do it. I didn't know how big it would get, how it would go, but it was something that I felt sort of an obligation and just a need to do, just because I wanted the world to appreciate him as much as I did.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the motivation. That's just a short version of it. There's a whole lot more to what led up to me actually doing it, and me feeling. Because at one point I felt like it couldn't be done. That there was no person in the world that could do that, could play him, because there was just so much to encapsulate. I just felt like there was nobody that could possibly do it.
Right.
And I had a couple of friends of mine who said they felt that because they felt, my love for him, that they felt like if anybody could do it, it would be me. But it took a lot of convincing before I actually had the confidence to feel like, I think I could pull this off.
Right. And just, I'm going to have you on next week to talk a lot more about him, but just share a little bit about the first time you met him. I'm not going to talk a lot about the show and where he went with you and how the time you spent with him, but just the first time you met him, what was that like?
Well, it was one of those kind of things where, I had already written a version of the show that I did in Minneapolis, my hometown. And I had taken it out to New York. I was trying to get it produced there. And just ran into it. There was a group of people doing a big mini-series on him. And I was able to connect with them. And then they asked me if I wanted to meet Ali when he came in, because he was coming in to consult with him on his project. And, of course, I was excited about it, but I was a little bit nervous, too, because, you got somebody, he was kind of on a pedestal with me. I felt he was such a great person. He seemed like such a nice person, and I was just hoping that when I met him, he would be all that I thought he would be.
Right.
And when I met him, make a long story short, he transcended even what I thought he would be. He was a very sweet person, a very kind person, a very supportive person, and just really nice to me right off the bat. We just sat and we talked, and he showed me some magic tricks, and it was kind of like very surreal for me at that time, because I was sitting right next to him. It was just me and him talking, and he was just everything that I could have wanted to be and more. And like I say, a lot more to say about that, but because I saw him in a lot of different settings too. I spent quite a bit of time with him over the next few years.
Right. Well, listen, Jeff, that's a little teaser for next week, because I'm going to have you on next week. I'm going to have you talk about the show. I'm going to have you talk about when Muhammad Ali came to your show. The show titled A Tribute to the Greatest, when he actually showed up, was there in the audience, and you're starting to play, shaking his hand. I'm going to talk to when you traveled with him, when you traveled overseas with him. We're going to bring all that into the show next week, and you can share some kind of intimate insight into your perspectives of his life. And and part of the reason I want to do it next week is because we live in a kind of a few-day news cycle, right?
Right.
It's a news cycle for a couple days, and then it's gone. No matter how important, no matter how moving Muhammad Ali was, 2 or 3 days from now they're going to be on to another thing, and really we don't need to move on that quickly from the champ. So we'll bring you back next week, and we'll just have a good time talking about Ali.
I look forward to it, man, 'cause I know you're a great fan of his, too, so we've had some good conversations, and I look forward to having the one next week. And I'll have some good stuff for you.
I know you will. I'm proud of you, Jeff, for doing this. You know, I'm going to say this, and you can hang up now, but I thought about this today, and I thought about, courage is something that we use lightly, but I think it took a little bit of courage for you, just like you say, just a guy out there doing the life story of somebody who is revered so much around the world. You spent so much time, and then you actually invited him to the show, and I told my granddaughter, Zainab, you kind of put it on the line. What if you didn't like the show? Here it is.
Yeah.
He's your hero. He's your hero all this time. He spent 8, 9, 10 years working the show. You invite him, he comes, and all of a sudden it's like he doesn't like it. I mean, just the possibility of that. And thank God I loved it. I'm going to have to let you go because we've got some other wonderful guests here I want to bring into this. And I already asked Shaka what he thought about Ali, but I want to ask our young guests as well if they have any thoughts before we move into the rest of the show. So I'm going to sign off with you, Jeff, and thanks very much. Okay, so I introduced Shaka. I introduced Nehemiah. Am I saying your name right?
Yes, sir.
And Zainab. Zainab is my granddaughter. And I'll tell you a little bit about them in a minute. But just any recollections, any thoughts you have about that you wanted to say about Muhammad Ali. Go ahead, Nehemiah, please.
Hello. My name is Nehemiah. And I just wanted to say that Muhammad Ali has always been a great man and has been very inspirational to me. From the moment I knew a lot about him, I knew, wow, this is a great man. Mm-hmm. Not only was he a great boxer, but he was a great person as well. Mm-hmm. He helped others, he was funny, he was kind, mm-hmm. and he addressed issues that needed to be addressed as such in the black community. And also, I think he took the right stand in not going to Vietnam is because he believed in not fighting, and that was really good because war tears us apart, and we don't need any more war.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful statement. Thank you very much, Nehemiah. Zainab, did you want to share anything?
So what really stood out to me about was the fact that he wouldn't go to war at all, and he was willing to put his whole life on the line just to stand up for what he believed in, and I thought that was very
Yeah, not a lot of people would have done that. I mean, I still think we minimize that just a little bit because it wasn't just the United States government that was against him. It wasn't just the people. It was actually a lot of black people that actually turned against him too, actually met with him, tried to talk him out of what he was doing, and then they come out of that meeting, at least some of the folks came out of that meeting with him more convinced that he was right than they were right. So he had that kind of conviction. Well, again, we'll talk more about that next week, but I want to really a heartfelt shout out to Muhammad Ali. Condolences, of course, obviously to the family. This show really, I was thinking about this show, and it has really a connection to Muhammad Ali's life in an interesting way. Because when Muhammad Ali was 12 years old, we know that his bike got stolen. This was the whole story that everybody's telling right now. His bike got stolen. He wanted to find the guy and beat him up, and ran into a guy named Joe Martin who took him to his gym, said, I'll teach you how to box. I'll teach you how to fight. Now, he never found the guy who stole his bike, but he learned how to box and he learned how to fight, and he won the Olympic gold medal just 6 years later when he was 18 years old. And what I thought about when I was thinking about this show, it really was about Joe Martin capturing the talent of a young person at the right time and then being willing to work with him and look at what can happen. This could have just been a regular 12-year-old kid. Who knows if Joe Martin had found him, taken him in, trained him in a similar way, Shaka, that you're working with these young people. I'm not saying these young people that turned out bad. I'm just saying sometimes, it's wonderful when somebody can come at the right time and help bring out the talent of our young people, and that's oftentimes all we need. So I want to introduce, again, I introduced Zainab and I introduced Nehemiah. I want to give Shaka just a little bit of a bio, and then I'm going to let Zainab and Nehemiah share a little bit about their bio. But Shaka is the founder and CEO of Bravo Zulu Chess Academy. It's a nonprofit organization based in Washington, D.C. Mr. Greens brings 16 years of experience as an educator to Ron Brown College Preparatory High School. He has a BS degree in education from the University of Memphis, Masters of Educational Leadership from Christian Brothers University. He's currently working on his doctorate of philosophy in psychology with a concentration in organizational leadership from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology. He's also a licensed, certified, highly qualified in all K through 8 core subjects. He also holds an endorsement in reading and mathematics, and the list goes on. So I want to welcome you, Shaka, to the show.
Thank you, sir.
Very much. I told you a little bit about what you know about yourself, but I want Nehemiah and Zainab, is there anything else you want to say about yourself? You know, how old are you? What school do you go to? And then just maybe a little bit about any of your hobbies. And either one of you can start first.
My name is Nehemiah Sellers, as I said before. I am 10 years old, and I attend L.C. Whitlow Stokes Community Freedom Public Charter School. And one of my main hobbies that I specifically focus on is my chess. And I also learn more about my heritage each day as I get older. But I mostly learn about chess each day. I study and practice, and I spend most of my time doing that because I know I'm eligible to get scholarships, win money, and so money means that I can help my community and my family and all others around me that are in need of help, who are less fortunate. And so by practicing, I can get better, win more tournaments, championships, money, scholarships, in order to help other people who are less fortunate than me and who don't have the opportunity that I get to have.
Amen. Amen. That I hope everybody heard that. Some people don't know scholarships available. There's chess scholarships available, and so I heard that come out of his mouth right away. I hope parents out there are hearing that. Scholarships is a big thing. Zainab, a little bit about yourself. I know you play chess as well, but any other hobbies that you have?
My name is Zainab Boyd, and I attend L.C. Whitlow Stokes Community Freedom Public Charter School. I'm 11 years old, and I do chess.
Keep the mic right up to you.
I do chess, and sometimes I'll do martial arts. And the reason I do chess is, the reason I started chess was because of scholarships also.
So tell me a little bit more about this martial arts thing.
Absolutely.
So I started martial arts when I was 4, and I am a black belt currently.
Say it a little louder.
I'm a black belt currently.
Okay.
I am in DACA 2 Martial Arts Academy.
Okay, very good,
Right.
very good. Okay, so we know a little bit about our guests. I don't know, Shaka, if you want to say anything about yourself. Okay, so let me ask you that you're a chess player, you're a chess teacher. I understand the game of chess goes way back, at least 1,500 years ago, maybe more. I know it goes back at least as far as India, but usually when you start to research something, you find out it goes back further than you thought it went, or what the history might tell
The deeper you dig,
us.
the further back it goes.
Yeah, and so tell me about that. How far back in your estimation does chess go?
I don't have an honest estimation,
Okay.
actually. But one of the earliest images that I've seen is Moors.
Right.
When the Moors came in and they began to civilize Southern Europe, they started in Southern Europe.
Right.
There's an image of some of the Caucasians that were still on all fours at the time, and the Moors were showing them the game of chess.
Yeah.
So we're talking thousands of years.
Thousands of years back. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's always good to know. I always tell people I always research something, whatever, whether it's chess, whether it's basketball, whether it's any invention, always research it. And so many times you'll find somebody black that had something to do with it at some time. When you look at the origins of things, a lot of times, and that's why it's always good to research, because that stuff is not always in the history books. And as soon as you start to look, you start to find things. It's like, why didn't I ever learn that? But anyway, so how long have you been playing chess?
Just about all of my life. My father taught me the game when I was 6 years old.
Yeah, I was going to ask you when you
Yes,
first.
sir.
Okay, so did you have a passion for it right away, or is it something you had to grow on you?
I had a passion only because he played.
Okay.
I was never a competitive chess player. I didn't play in my first chess tournament until I was an adult. It was just a game that I saw him playing with his friends.
Right.
And it was very unique to me because my father's 6'9", 260.
Okay.
He's a basketball player. His entire life he's been a basketball player, and I always saw him as a basketball player. But when it was time to hold shop,
Right.
with his friends on the front porch. It was over the game of chess, and I admired him for that.
Okay, all right. So you started very early, and Zainab, Nehemiah, when did you start playing chess? How did you learn about it, and when did you start playing?
This is Nehemiah. I started playing when I was 7 years old.
Okay.
Funny story, actually. I was in aftercare, and the aftercare coordinator called students for chess. And so I decided in my mind, oh, let me go see what this is about. Let me go see chess. So the after-school coordinator decided that I was able to go to chess, and he confirmed it with me. And so I was there, and so when my mother came to pick me up, well, during chess practice, I learned mostly about the pieces, how they moved, what their values were, and we did some drills. So when my mother came to pick me up, she asked the after-school coordinator, "Where's Nehemiah?" And he said, "He's in chess." And so my mother was a little bit confused and wondered, in chess? He's supposed to be in the multi-purpose room.
Okay.
And so she went down to the library to go see where the chess students were, and she found me. And there I told her I was introduced and had a new passion for chess.
Beautiful. Powerful. So you got a 6-year-old, a 7-year-old. Zainab, how were you introduced to chess, and when did you first start playing?
I think I started like a month before Nehemiah. I was introduced by my sister. Yeah. She signed me up because there are these little charts on the wall, and she wrote my name, and I was like, I don't want to be in chess. I don't know what chess is. Please don't sign me up. Some other person's teaching. I don't want to talk to people. And then she was like, well, you're going to come anyways. And so later on in the year, I came. And
Did you have a passion for it right away? Nehemiah said he had a passion for it. He told his mother he had a passion for it right away. Did it take you a while, or did you get it right away?
yeah, it took me about 2 years. And then I finally started getting interested in it in 3rd grade. And
wow, this is amazing. These ages, 6 and 7 years old. So, Shaka, you actually run a chess academy where you again teach young people to play chess. Can you give us a brief history of the academy? It's called the Bravo Zulu Academy.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Bravo Zulu Chess Academy.
Okay, and can you just tell us how that started? And
yes, sir. We this is a 4-year-old organization. It's a nonprofit located in Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
We started as an aftercare program, so the aftercare class that Nehemiah snuck to was actually my class. And we, at the time, we were partnering with Chess Challenge DC, which is a organization, nonprofit in Washington, D.C. that does a lot of great work with children.
Okay.
And out of that organization, I really saw a need that was being untapped, primarily with our young boys of African descent. I wanted them to be able to show their excellence in something that they didn't have to run, jump, or throw. And we've just taken off. In 4 years, we've accomplished some amazing things.
Yeah, you have, and we can talk a little bit more about that. But the name, tell us about the name. Where did you get the name from? Bravo Zulu Academy.
It's hidden meaning.
Yeah, I
It's
bet.
hidden meaning.
Yeah.
I spent 3.5 years in the United States Navy.
Okay.
And a term that we often use for job well done was Bravo Zulu.
Okay.
I thought it was very coincidental, or not, that that term also comes from the Zulus. I'm named after the king of the Zulus,
Okay.
One of the greatest military strategists to ever walk the planet. So it's just a natural fit that if we're going to have an organization that does well, it should be named after the Zulus.
Yeah, an affirmation right away up front.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and in Washington, D.C., we talked about the history of chess, just a little bit about how far back it goes. But is there any sense of the history of chess in Washington, D.C., or any black people who've been prominent in chess in the early days that you're aware of?
The great Eugene Brown.
Okay.
The Life of a King is a movie starring Cuba Gooding Jr. that came